No, we never fight. We just disagree on most things. All right? All right. Tammy came up with this ingenious idea to rank and figure out relationships, and then she gave it to me, and I didn't agree. So let's go.
Okay,
What do you
here we
got,
go.
Tammy?
So let me tell you how this started. I do a lot of life coaching. I work with a lot of couples. And I began to look, let me kind of tell you how this started. I looked at this couple, you see them, they're called Better Together on the front row. They wear matching shirts, they're our neighbors.
Oh, I thought that was Bet Togi. I thought that was a horse in the Kentucky.
Yeah, you would, instead of
Bet
me
Togi.
seeing it as Better Together. That's how a man sees two t-shirts and a woman. See, we're just wired different. But they're like always sugar. I mean, everything's just like, that kind of thing. And then there's those who they're driven, they're task-oriented, and everything's focused. And so I began to watch relationships, and I realized every relationship's different. You come together really for various reasons, but then you got to stay together for all the reasons. Like you look and you go, how come we don't have that? But they go, how come we don't have that? So I put relationships in 5 categories, and we're going to look at those this morning, but I do have a QR code. I want to encourage you to check out my website because we did a video on these, and you'll find more information. But I truly believe that you're attracted to your spouse for one of these 5 reasons. And you'll find they kind of, this is my definition. He did not agree with me, and I'll explain to you why. So the first one is your spiritual connection. How many of you feel that you were drawn to your significant other, whether it be married, dating, whatever, for a spiritual reason? Anybody in here? And don't raise your hand if it wasn't, because I fell in love with him when I heard him teaching in our little Baptist college. I mean, you guys know, you hear him every Sunday, he can teach the Word of God. I was even engaged to our pastor's son. But I had these spiritual goo eyes, honestly, because
but he introduced
you
to me.
He did. And I broke up with him and ended up with you. So figure that one out. but I had this deep spiritual longing. Bethany, you raised your hand. So I was attracted to him spiritually. So let me give you the definition of that because I think it's really good. If you have a spiritual connection, you have a belief and an interest in the things of God and eternity. There's just like this oneness spiritually, and you're drawn to your spouse that way or your significant other. God is the glue of your relationship. For us, I truly believe number one, spiritually is what brought us together. Obviously, we're pastors together. We've been in ministry together. So that's our thing. I'm going to give you all 5, and then we're going to talk about them. Number 2, your colleagues. That means maybe you met at work, and you have this commonality as colleagues. You do well together as colleagues. That definition is you share a common goal, and you have each other's back. So you see couples all the time who they're this. They're more colleagues than anything else. They build things together. They build businesses together and brands together. They just have this oneness that way. You work well together, and you're not in competition because you have a goal. So sometimes the goal is even more important in your relationship or your marriage or intimacy or those other things. And you find, sometimes I feel like you're a colleague more than you are my significant other, okay? The third one is family. I always say this is like the D'Angelos, if you know the D'Angelos in our church. So family's everything. You stay together, you're glued together because of the family. So there's support, love, caring for other family members. It's all about the family, the children, the grandchildren. It's the godfather. It's maybe you met each other and you saw that family connection and you wanted that connection and you were drawn because you're like, I want that in my life. So that family is your glue. There's open communication. Every person feels important, valued, respected, and esteemed. Then there's the romantic, okay?
Hello.
Now, I'm going to
Hello,
go over
world.
these, and then I'm going to let him share. I'm just going to give you what they are, because I took the 5 like this, and he's like, you're wrong. No, we're this. And so he sees me different than I see him, and that's why I'm setting it up this way. Anybody feel that way in your relationship? Then there's the romantic. That means you kiss goodbye all the time.
War.
You never leave without kissing. You always hold hands. You're always sugar.
Sugar.
You're like one of those just you're very intimate that way. The definition of that is a person who has a deep feeling and they think about love a lot. So it's like very lovey. They show affection by their words, acts of kindness toward one another. They enjoy life together. They're playful, they're giddy. And maybe that's what you were the first few years of your marriage. And then maybe you reverted back to really who you are and what you look for in a relationship. So that's romantic. And then companion. A companion is someone that accompanies someone else. It's a comrade, an associate. You travel together. You share common interests together. You enjoy one another's company. You have an emotional bond and a sense of comfort. So that means you really are companions. It doesn't mean that you have the intimacy or the romance or the spiritual. A lot of women will come to church and they don't have that connection with their spouse. But they feel like they work together, they have a business together. Do you realize how all 5 of these compartments drew you to your spouse or your significant other, and the other ones maybe just fall short? But let me tell you what you do. Instead of looking at what you have in common, you look at what you don't have. And you compare yourself with everyone else, like a girlfriend or someone else, and you go, we don't have that, we don't have that, we don't have that. And you begin to see what you don't have instead of what you do have. So out of those 5, kind of walk through what you think. Remember what they are?
No. Let me look here. Okay, spiritual, colleague, family, romantic, companion. You know, I think I'm hitting on all the cylinders. I mean, I'm looking at... I don't see a flat side in these things.
Okay,
you know,
if you could rate those in our relationship.
So hard. Well, I think that number 1 would probably be, if I'm going to be honest for just a moment.
Why do we have relationship problems?
An easy answer is simple to give. I'm going deep here. I've only known about this for like 3 months. I would say probably we hit pretty strong on the colleague, companion, spiritual. Those would be the top 3. Out of them, I'd say spiritual's number 1. How about that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You agree with that?
I would get that.
What about your number 1?
Well, my number 1's spiritual, because we just have that connection.
What's your number 2? We'll move on. What do you got? Because I want to know what we disagree on here.
Well, I would say I think that we're colleagues. Like we started the church together. Like here's our story. If we go out to dinner, which we just did, because it was a big anniversary for us. Do you remember how many years?
I do.
You going to say?
I do remember that.
How many years?
Hold on, it's inside my ring.
Yeah, I had to put it in his ring so I wouldn't forget.
47 years.
So 47 years. I mean, that's a lot of years, right? So we leave early to go to our romantic dinner because we have to make a stop along the way for something for the church that we're looking at, thinking and dreaming about something we can do, which is our next for the church. So we have to go by and look at this location on our way to our anniversary. So I said to him, babe, do you think maybe like when we're here at the winery, looking at each other's eyes, celebrating our anniversary, we could maybe like talk about us? But we can't do that because when we get there, it's the church. It's the people. It's who are going to minister. But we're wired that way, and it really is probably what's held our marriage together, to be honest. So these other areas, we've learned now. It's like you have to kiss in the morning. You have to do that because our granddaughter looked at us and said, "Cammy, do you ever kiss Papa?" Now, when she said that to me, I was like,
and she said to me, "Why do you always initiate that kiss?"
She did not. She did not. But that's important. So we realize, gosh, we're so busy, we're not even kissing in front of our grandkids. Does that make sense to you? So you need to kind of dialogue. We're going to do that throughout the day with each other. And maybe your spouse doesn't even feel like you're flat where you feel you're flat. Where you're saying, I don't feel we've had that intimacy in a long time. I don't feel we're not talking about the things that we argue about all the time. Does that make sense? So those are areas, romantic. I mean, you have to be wired.
Wait a minute, we know that. What's number 2 for you?
I said for me it was colleague, because I think we're colleagues.
Oh, colleagues. What's number 3?
Number 3 would be family.
So where's romantic falling
4.
Oh, that's
But
a D.
you're Dutch.
I just got a D.
You're Dutch. Now, but you were sober. But you're romantic you like to give gifts.
I'm a gift giver.
So, because if you know anything about
I got you a
your
new car
gifts,
that I can drive.
So, he thinks because he gives me something, that's being romantic. Where I'm like, I don't need the gifts. I need you to hold my hand. I need you to tell me you love me.
I love you.
Oh, gosh. Right? And then companion. Now, we argued about this. I mean, not really, but I said, I think companion's number 4. because I love to walk, I love
What
to
do you
hike.
think
I
you
love,
are on the romantic scale? Wait a minute, step back up here. What are you on the romantic scale? Where would you put you, not us?
Well, if you were more romantic, I would be more romantic.
Ah, that's what I
It
thought.
starts with the head,
How many guys have heard this one?
you know?
Don't raise your hand. You'll be in
if you're
trouble.
not going to kiss me
you'll
goodbye.
be in man jail for a month.
I mean, I'm like, why should I always initiate the holding hands and kissing? My hand's right here. It's been here
I give her a
47
hug
years.
and she gives me a grandma pat on the back.
You know, used to be we were always holding hands. And then, over the years, it's kind of like,
I figured that out. I had to move on to something else.
what was
the
it?
holding hand thing. Moving on. I moved out. I figured it out.
What did you move on to?
Deeper, intimate thoughts and relationships.
And that would be what? Did you forget to tell me?
That's just how we live. It's just become so common. It's like fishing in an aquarium now. We're just swimming together.
So what I want you to do in the next couple of minutes, you have that list in front of you. I want you to turn, if you're with a spouse, if you're with, I know we have.
If you're single and you're sitting next to a guy, do not talk to him about this.
Yeah. All right.
Do not go to the bathroom with the guy either.
Yeah. Okay.
You got it all?
Okay. So
I got to help guys.
I know.
You're not helping the guys.
Guys aren't smart, but I do. Well, you say that all the time.
What?
That guys aren't smart.
I can say that.
Oh, I can't say it?
It's like making fun of Dutch people. I can do that, but you're not Dutch. You can't make fun
That's
of
why
Dutch
you're not
people.
romantic, because you're Dutch.
There's
Dutch.
never been a Dutch romantic person.
Not really.
Probably true.
Yeah. So what I want you to do, I want you to take those 5 categories and just take about 2 minutes and turn to whoever you came with. And it doesn't even have to be a significant other. I know we have some singles here. But begin to rate and say, how would you rate those things in your relationship? What draws you to one another, and see how you do with that.
And let me say this: if you're here alone, if you're single, if you may be dating someone, but you're here or you're looking, you might just kind of look and say, where am I on that list, honestly? Yeah. And then what would be a really attraction place for me with someone else?
Okay. Okay. Take about 2 minutes to do that, and then we're going to move on.